today you no doubt saw what we were gonna make on the Art Impressions website, and we are gonna make this really cute mushroom wreath. How adorable is this? Can you even? And I know I'm sort of tooting my own horn because I really like this one. It's really fun. I feel like it's really whimsical. And you know, I was thinking of what is something I can do that's fall, but not necessarily harvest. And mushrooms really only grow during the rainy season, at least here in Oregon. And so I was like, you know what? I should get out that mushroom set and do a really cute wreath with that. So that's what we're gonna do today. And I'm only using 4 sets. So I'm only using the Watercolor Elves set, which is actually what has the mushroom in it. Okay, so Watercolor Elves set. And then this is going to be SKU number 5125. So go ahead and grab these things if you have them around, if you want to stamp with me. 5125. And then also the Foliage Set 1, 4051. And I'm just going to be using the 2 grasses here. So Foliage Set 1. All right. And Watercolor Branches Set SKU 4964, and Leah would probably have all of these SKUs memorized, but I don't. Watercolor Branches Set, so this one, and I'm going to be using this little guy. I also brought this one because I'm kind of obsessed with that one, so I brought it too. And Jane, toot toot, Kendra's a comin'. That's hilarious. And then also, one of my favorite sets in the whole world, which is new, it's the Bible Foliage Set 2, SKU 5418. You guys know I love this one. I am like obsessing over this one, and I'm not kidding. Every single stamp in here is usable. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous set, and it has the little dots that everybody has been calling the Kendra dots because I've been begging for these dots forever. So let's see, can we substitute if we don't have them? Of course, substitute. You guys, use what you have. If you only have one vine, just use that one vine and maybe change the color. Maybe do like an olive green and then maybe a hunter green with it. Just by changing the color or by changing the amount of the one stamp that you have, it will look different. So no need to stamp exactly what I have. If you don't have a mushroom, draw one. Draw a little bowl on top and a really just very simple mushroom, and you're still gonna learn something, okay? So don't worry, or just put something else in there. Put a little pot in there if you want to. Okay, Mary said, I just ordered that set. Can't wait to get it. It's so good. This set is so good. And actually, I'm gonna toot my own horn again because I begged for these Pixies to come back. And they came back and the mushrooms came with them. So I am very excited for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. I am gonna just flip us around now. So don't mind me just for a moment, and then we'll get the camera set up. Okay, so hopefully we are gonna get this in a good spot. All right. So, okay. So now we're going to jump right in. So what I'm gonna do is grab my first watercolor paper, and I am going to, I've already made a little circle on here. So you can do, I talked about it a little bit last week. You could get one of these. These are the Helix Circles that you can get on Amazon. You can use this, or I just used a little adhesive ring to make my circle, and you just want to do a really light, really light pencil line, okay? So you don't want to overdo it. You just want to do it really, really light so that you can go and erase it after, okay? Now we are going to take our first stamp. So the first stamp is going to be the little Pixie here, and I'm going to do him first because he's actually sitting a little bit in front of this first mushroom here. So we want to do the thing that is going to be in the front first, and then we can mask these two back. Now, these masking is going to be the hardest thing on this whole wreath. The rest of it is really, really easy, okay? So we are going to get our little Pixie, and we're going to ink him in the 969 brown. And I'll take this, I want to have a little paper to stamp off. So I'm just going to ink this little guy, get him with that 969, this guy. And then I'm going to stamp him off until he isn't super dark. So I'm going to go in now and we'll just put him right there. And I don't want him really dark because I don't want that brown to overpower the colors that I'm going to put on his clothes. Okay, so I'm going to put him right there. And then I'm going to make, with the ink that's left on this guy, I'm going to make a little mask for him. So I'll just huff on that just a touch. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a mask. I don't need to cut this whole thing out. I'm just going to cut very loosely on here, just so we don't stamp right over him and have a big line through his pants or something. So we'll do something along these lines here. So I'm just going to make a little mask. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to sit perfectly. Actually, I do want it just a little bit closer. So we'll do something like that. Okay. And then we'll take our foreground mushroom, which is just going to be this little guy. And we're going to stamp this right behind him using that same brown, that 969. So I'll grab that 969 brown. I am like a little bit crooked here, huh? Okay. So I'm going to grab that 969 brown and I'm going to ink the mushroom. Now again, I don't want this super, super dark. So I'm just going to stamp off. Now make sure your stamp off paper is watercolor paper. Okay, you want to have watercolor paper. So I'm going to stamp this guy just right behind him. Okay. Do you see the difference between how dark this one is and how dark this one is? You get a much lighter impression if you stamp off once, and that's what we want. Now with the same ink that's on that one, I'm gonna make a little mask for my small mushroom, and actually he's bigger than this paper, so I'm gonna stamp it off on here. Okay, so I'm gonna do something like that. And I don't have to get the whole mushroom. The biggest part I wanna get is just this part right here. And if it comes over into the front, that's fine. Or you can also just put a little piece down. So if I take my scissors and I cut this little mask out, again, if the big mushroom is stamped over it and you can see it, that's fine. It's not a big deal. So I'll take that mask and put it onto my paper, just like that. And I can always use just a small piece down here. I can just bring in like this little piece right there and just finish off the bottom of the stem if I just want to be sure that it doesn't stamp over it. And then my big mushroom, I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to stamp it right over the top of that guy. Notice I did not take off the mask of the Pixie guy because just in case I get that mushroom over too far, I don't want it to stamp over his legs and everything. So it's better to just leave it on until you get all your masking done. So same color, 969, and I'm gonna go right over the big mushroom. What is the white paper you're using for masking? Oh, this is just a Post-it tape. It's a Post-it masking tape, but you can get this on Amazon. It's very inexpensive Post-it tape that we use for masking. Okay, and then I'll take that and stamp off again on my watercolor paper. It's really important that you use watercolor paper to stamp off because it will take too much ink off, okay? So I'm gonna take this, I'll give it a little huff, and I'll take this and stamp it just back behind, let's see. Back behind there. And it's okay if it comes out a little bit. It's not a big deal, okay? So now I can take that off and see that is now positioned in front of the big mushroom. And then we can take our little Pixie off. And now we have our Pixie laying in front of a little mushroom who is planted in front of a big mushroom, okay? So you can get this by just really simply masking off your images before you stamp the next one, okay? Now we'll get those mushrooms, that little Pixie out of the way, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because now we're just going to add some color into our mushrooms and our Pixie, and then we'll do the wreath part at the very end after we've already put in all of our color here, because it'll make it really, really simple to decide where we're gonna put our foliage, okay? So first, what we're gonna do is take our brush, and you gotta get your water. Just gonna be right there. Okay, I'm gonna get my water and just get my brush nice and wet. And then I'm gonna come in and just begin to pull the color out of the lines just a little bit, enough to kind of give me an idea about how I want to put in this color. Okay. Do we have I'm asking Leah a question real quick. Do we have the white gel pen?
We're out of stuff.
Are we out of it? Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, maybe I'll use the gel pen instead of the liquid latex, which is the Molotow. But the Molotow is really great. And before I start putting in any of these shadows, let me just get this in really quick. And I was gonna use, if you just have like a white gel pen, you can do this with just a gel pen. But I'm gonna put some white spots in here. Just like that, just a few of them. It doesn't have to be overboard, just a few. And just a couple up in here. And we'll just do them really light. We don't need them to be, you know, huge or all over the place. We can just do a few of them like so. Okay, maybe one more right there. And maybe one right here, because I'm, it was just feeling a little off. Okay, so if you don't have a masking pen, don't worry about it. You can just get a white gel pen and put in the little spots at the very end, okay? And so now, without going over our masking fluid until it's totally dry, we're gonna go around and we are going to add in some of those little shadows. So I'm gonna just go around this little guy and add in the shadows. Now, because this is a dome, we want the top of this to be highlighted, right? It's a dome. So if you have a dome here, you want that to be highlighted right at the very top. It's kind of like the truck where we did the wheel wells, or the what was that called? The little piece above the truck. The wheel well,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. We'll try.
If you can think of that word, put it in the comments. But it goes up and then comes down. It's a dome. So anything that's a dome, you want to be highlighted at the very top. Now, this part, we are going to come down and put in a little shadow here. Now, we will come back and put more detail in here, but we can just get it started. A fender. Thank you, Heather. The fenders, those are also domes, okay? All right. So I'll take my water, and all I'm doing is just giving myself a little bit of a guide on where I want my shadows and how I want those to look. And then it also, once I put my color in, it's also going to give it a really nice richness. All right, so this is going to be shadowed in. And then down here, this is going to be shadowed in too. And it's okay to have your mushroom come out of the wreath. That's totally fine, because you know, you can always redraw the circle to fit it in if you feel like it's too far out. I like it to come out. I like it to be asymmetric, so that's not going to bother me. But if that bothers you, you can always, because this is pencil, you can always move it over, okay? The Molotow is the 2.0 millimeter fine, okay? All right, so now we're going to get out our little palette, our AI palette. Okay, and we'll have this right next to our image, and then I will make sure to tell you what numbers I'm using. Okay, let me just try to get all in frame here. Okay, so the first color we're going to use is we're going to color our mushrooms first, and this is very easy. All we're going to do is just layer colors, okay? So we're going to start with number 027, and this is a really pretty olive brown.
Just added to the website
yes,
today.
Leah said it has just been added to the website today. So if you are interested in this color, you can snag it on artimpressions.com. Okay, so this is 027, and it's so pretty. You can see it's just a really nice, very warm green, and it's kind of like I think it's the jungle brown or the olive brown in Marby. So this is a really, really nice color. Okay, so I'm going to take that, just a little bit of water on my brush, and I want to just desaturate that color just a little bit so I can start by just putting in a wash into this. So let me make sure my masking pen is dry, and it is, so I can just go right in. So I'm gonna bring this in, and I'm not gonna be careful, you guys. I want it to just be really, really loose. So as long as I have water on here, it's gonna be loose. I'll take a little bit more of that, maybe have a little bit more color in here, because I do want these to look just a bit different. They're the same, you know, genus and species, but they can still be individuals, right? Diane, dark ochre, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So I'll go back in and just layer that in a bit more. I don't want you to be overly concerned with the way that your mushrooms look, because they're going to grow differently. You know, every mushroom is going to look a little bit different. So don't try to make these exactly the same. It's okay. It's okay if one of them is more yellow or one of them's more green. Don't worry. I just want you to focus on enjoying how the colors are blending together. So I'll take my brush and just a little bit of water and just blend out that edge there. Now I'm going to take number 993. Okay, 993. Yes, Robin, sisters, not twins. That's right. 993, that's a really good explanation or visual. That's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take 993 and I need a little bit of that color, I guess. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that right on top of the green, but not all the way to the top, just kind of dropping in that yellow on top of the green and letting it come down a little bit. So you know, that's going to give you the visual that, you know, these are maybe sitting a little bit in the sun, but also that they might have just a little bit of yellow in them. And you don't want to go all the way to the top. Remember, we want to keep that highlight strong. Okay. Keep that highlight strong. And I'm going to go right down like that and just see how I blended it in just a little bit with that green. It's just nice to, these two colors blend really well together because that green has a lot of yellow in it already. And because of that, they just work really nice. So I'm going to take 969 and I'm going to take that one and put some darker color down into the areas that we really want dark. And this 969, it is also warm, so it blends really nicely too. And then in here too. And then I'll take just a little bit of water on my brush and blend this in. So this is really just about blending. You're really just blending the colors. And I want to note too that if you add more color to your mushrooms before they're dry, so if I were to try to add more brown now, this would actually, it would look a lot lighter than what I'm trying to do because it's like water on top of water on top of water without ever drying, and I'm not going to get the layered look that I want. So you really do need to let it dry between layers. And I'm going to take that same brown and just come down onto the stem here. Now, because this is overlapping with the big one, I want to leave a little white cushion there just to differentiate between mushrooms. It doesn't have to be a big line. I just like to do that because I think it looks, it sets apart the mushrooms and it makes them look less connected. And I'll do the same thing with this little guy. And we want a shadow that kind of comes across here because this one is actually kind of leaning more towards us. So he's going to have a bit more of a shadow on his stalk. Okay. We're going to let these dry now and we'll come back in and add more details after we do our pixie, okay? So let's start our little pixie now. So I'm going to start with our little clothes. So these are really, really easy. I'm going to use number 885. So 885 is a really nice red. It's also warm. So this red has some yellow in it, and you can kind of tell that we're keeping this whole thing nice and warm, right? So I'm going to use that 885, and let's see if I can get it right here on screen, hopefully. And maybe I just need to back out a bit so that we can get the 885. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of that 885 and I'm going to just put it on his pants. So he's going to have little pants here. And I'm actually going to leave a little space, and I like to have his little ankle show. So that's up to you. If you want to bring the pant all the way to the shoe, that's absolutely fine. You can totally do that. But I want to, for mine, I want to have just a little bit of ankle showing. Okay, so I'll come back in and just layer that a little bit, and we'll bring the color up. So we have a little bit of red on his pants, and then we're also going to make his hat red. So question from Nelody, what a beautiful name. Are those watercolor, are those markers watercolor markers? So these are water-based markers. These are Tombow water-based markers, and they don't specifically say water-based, but the reason that we know is because they move when we add water. So if you aren't sure if your pen is a water-based marker, all you have to do, and this is so easy, is get out your marker, because not all of them say, is get out your marker and do a line on a piece of watercolor paper. And if it moves, you know it's water-based. And if it doesn't move, then it's probably alcohol. And you don't want to use alcohol for this. Okay, so we'll get our little palette back in here. All right, so now we'll put some red on his hat. And we'll put a little red on his hat. So cute. It always comes out just a little bit pink until you layer it, okay? So we'll definitely layer this. And you know what? I'm just going to zoom in. I feel like you guys know how I use the palette. And I feel like a lot of you really want to see how it's colored. So I'm just going to zoom in and let you guys see how I color this. All right. So I'll take the red again, that 885, and I will put in a little bit more color just where we would put the shadows. So that's going to be in this area right here. And this becomes a really nice guide for us when we come back in. And actually I do just want this to be darker. So we'll just put one more layer in all over, and then we'll come back in and do that shadow, because I want the red really does need to be layered quite a bit to get the amount of red that you really want. It's just not a super strong color unless you layer it really good. Okay. So now I'm going to use number 993. So this is that really pretty orange color. So, oops, not 993, 933. 933. And I'll use 933 on his little shirt. 933 is a really cute pumpkin-y orange. If you're wanting to do pumpkins, this is a great color to add to your pumpkins. And he's gonna get a little orange shirt. Now this would be a really good opportunity to use your number 1 brush if you have it, because it's so small. These areas are so small. The number 1 brush is really, really good. It's really, really good. And it's nice to be able to get in there. I mean, I'm kind of struggling to get in there with the number 4 because it's normally like a really great size, but to get into these really tiny areas, that number 1 is just really nice for that. Okay. So I'm gonna take the red again, that 885. And I'm going to take the bullet tip, this little tip right here, and I'm going to put in my shadow with the bullet tip, which is going to be right down at the bottom, just like that. And then same thing actually with the hat. We'll just put a little bit of a shadow right there. And you know what? We may come back and do another layer of that red because I really like it to be a rich red. And then same thing with the orange. I can come in here and just put a little layer just to deepen that orange a little bit. Now let's do his hair and his shoes. And I'm going to use number 947 for this one. 947. Oh, Vicky, thank you for typing that in because I don't have my palette on here. It's hard for you guys to see. So 947 is the next color. 947. It's a really nice sort of tan, sandy brown, but it's also very warm.
Burnt sienna.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Burnt sienna. Yes, very good, Leah. Look at, she knew. Burnt sienna. Yes. Yes. Good job. Okay, so I'm going to put this into his little shoes here. And we'll just put that in. And then I am going to also put in a little bit of the 933. I'm going to mix a little of the 933 with that 947 and use that for his hair because I do kind of want it a little bit orange. It's just cute. A little bit orange. I'll take that 947 again, just alone. And I want to darken up these areas where his little shadow would be. And then I'll do the same thing and grab that bullet tip and put in a darker shadow right at the base of his little shoe and on the back. Okay. And then I'm also going to use the 850. This is kind of a really light pinky color. And he's so small that, you know, I could leave him just as is, but I do want to add a little bit of something to him. So 850, it's kind of this like pinky pink.
It's called Flesh.
850, well, that's a silly name. It is. Okay, 850, you can barely see it on the screen. Okay, you can barely see it. It's really light. And we can always, if we wanted to do a darker skin tone, we could always use some golds or some reds and mix them in there. Also a little bit of blue. So you can always change up the color, okay? So 850. And I'm just gonna go over just a little bit over him. Don't worry if his eyes kind of get lost. Okay, don't worry. And Barbara, why don't I see his shoes? I'm trying. Okay, Barbara, so let me stamp this for you. Oh, here, I have this one. So see his little shoes? They're kind of like, this is the sole right here of his shoe. And then this part kind of comes up like a little booty. And then they're kind of pointy. So it's probably my coloring that's throwing you off. But don't worry because that part will just be in the grass. So don't worry too much, okay? And then I'll take a little bit of that same color and I will put that on his ankle. Okay, now this will help you a lot more too when we put in all of our brown. The twin tone brown is going to be really nice because that's what's going to make everything be really contrasted. And I'm going to put just a little cheeky in with 885, and I really diluted that color out quite a bit before I put it on his cheek. Okay, so just a tiny bit diluted, And then I'll put a bit in his ear and a little on his cheek. And then we'll come back in, okay? So I do want to add another little layer of a shadow, but I can't really do that with that really light color. So I'll probably go in with the 969 and just put just a tiny, just the teeniest bit onto him to add in a little bit of shadow, because these colors are really light and you do still need your shadow in here, which is why we wanted to do that in the beginning, you know, darken up those areas with that 969. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I want these to be a little bit deeper. And really the only way that you're gonna get that is if you, oh sorry, I'm kind of off screen, huh? The only way you're gonna get that is if you continue to layer and layer and layer, okay? So I'll take that 947 again and just put a little bit of hair into his little bangs there. And then we'll come back to him, okay? So he's not done yet, we'll come back to him. But what we wanna do is finish up our mushrooms now. So I'll just come back out. Now that our mushrooms are pretty much dry, we want to come back in and put our final layers in. So I'm going to take let's see, I'm still a little bit close. So I'm going to take some of these again. I'm going to take the 027, that really pretty green. I'm going to take that and I'm going to just dump a little bit more in here. Now, if I'm not getting as green as I want to, I can always take 177 and put that in next to it. See how much greener 177 is? That 027 can come off a little bit brown, so you can always grab a little bit of that green. And I'm not gonna put this green in the other one. I just want the green in the big one because I want these to be different. I want them to have, you know, their own little characteristics. All right. And then we'll put just a bit of that 969 onto this area here. And I always think of this as like its little turtleneck or something. Put in a few more shadows. And have that nice and dark. Maybe we'll take a little bit more of that 993 and make him a little bit more yellow. Okay, now the thing I want you guys to notice is you're gonna have them look different. You know, they're gonna look different every time you do these. Don't worry about it. Just have fun with it and make sure that you keep your highlights on top. As long as you're doing that, it doesn't really matter what color you do these. They're gonna be great, okay? So now we'll take our little twin tone, here, and I'm gonna take that really detailed tip. Now everything is just gonna come to life, okay? So we're gonna zoom in and we are gonna put in the little gills or the little, I like to call them gills, but I don't actually know what they're called. The little sections in the bottom. And I think this is maybe part of the reproductive system maybe, or I'm not totally sure. Maybe somebody knows. Maybe we have a mycologist in here that can tell us more about mushrooms. But what I'm doing is following the lines that are already in there. Debbie, more yellow will make Kimberly happy. Yes, it will. So I'm following the lines that are already in there, and some of these I'm going to make darker. So they don't have to be, you don't have to go and like, you know, find the perfect one to make darker. You can just go around and make some of them darker. Janet, the pixies are so fun. Yes, they are. They are just so fun. Yes, just like snowflakes, Renee. No two mushrooms are alike. That's right. Renee said they are gills. Okay, sweet. I took I should say I took half of a mycology class once, but it was really like really intense, you guys. It was so intense. I had to memorize like all the scientific names, which generally speaking is not hard for me. Like I can do that. That's generally not a problem. But oh my word, in this class, I struggled so much and I did so bad on the exam that I ended up having to drop the class. I had to drop the class because it was so hard to remember all of the names. And come to find out, this class was actually for mycology majors, or like what is that, like plant majors, like botany majors. And so they I was actually not even supposed to be in there to begin with. So I didn't feel as bad dropping the class, but I guess I remembered that those were gills. And I took it because I thought it would be so interesting. I was like, I really like mushrooms. This would be really fun. And I was not supposed to take it. So I guess that's my fault for not knowing that sooner. Okay, so I'm just going around and I'm adding some of these, I'm adding some of the little contrast little areas that I feel like would really pop the lighter areas. But do you see, I want you to just notice this little white cushion right here. It doesn't seem like much, but it really does a good job to separate the two mushrooms. So I wanted you guys to kind of notice that. Okay, and then we'll come in here and we'll put his little details in, and we'll get his little face in here. I do want to darken his face up just a little bit too. You know, so much of these watercolors is really about playing and see what you like. You know, it's really, Laura, the fun guys. Yep. I'm pretty sure that was like a joke that they had in the class too. But you have to play with these and just play around until you're happy with the outcome here. It's okay to have to redo stuff or to have to go over it again. It's not a big deal. Okay, so I'm just putting in these little areas and I'm going to darken up his little feet here. Okay, so I'm going to put some shadows into his face. I want his face just a bit darker. So I'm going to use 912. This is a really nice brown. Okay, my inclination, Judy says, my inclination would be to erase the pencil line through the mushroom before painting. Would that work? Yes, of course. You can absolutely do that. You do not have to have the line through there. I'm so used to having the lines through everything, I don't even notice it anymore. So I just kind of go with it, but you can certainly erase that line. That's no big deal. Okay, I think I'm gonna like this color a little bit better. And now that I think about it, I think that I actually went back over him with this color after, because I didn't like that super, super pinky one. Okay, so you could get this color, you can layer this color with any of the browns too if you have 850, because 850 is a really nice color, but you can just layer it with something else. And do you see how that just richens up his face? Leah's telling me we don't have this color, but it's okay. You guys can just grab another color that has, you could even use 947, just dilute it down. And then he needs his little boots here. Okay. And don't worry about it being just perfect, even though I do. I totally do. And I always tell you guys, don't worry. But I'm always the one that's like, I'm always the one that's like, oh, don't worry. But then I go back, you know, and put in, you know, some more colors. But it's really, it's not a big deal, you guys. He's such a small part of the painting that it really isn't gonna matter. Okay, Barbara, now you see his shoes. Good. That is hilarious. You know, it was probably me that I kind of blobbed it on. So that's probably why it was hard to see. My apologies. Okay, now I'm going to put some circles on here. And keep in mind, we will also be adding the little dots. And so don't overdo these. But I like having these little circles in because then you have sort of the juxtaposition between the really bright white ones and then these darker ones. So I'm just going in here and putting these in. So the biggest lesson today is it's really the mushrooms. And then we just put this very, very simple wreath around it that looks really festive and fun. Okay. So of course, here's me going back in because I want to just add these little details in. And so much of it, you know, when I'm making these, I kind of skip around. I go back and forth. And, you know, so you don't have to do this in sequence as I'm teaching you. You really can just do it in a way that's comfortable to you. So when you're watching this, you can always pause it and be like, oh, I want to add this in, or I want to do this. So you don't have to do it in the sequence I do it because, you know, when I'm stamping on my own, I really do kind of do my own thing. So I'm just giving you an idea of a sequence that you can do this in, okay? So let's zoom out a bit. And now we will go ahead and take our blue dots off, okay? So we're gonna take these and make sure this is dry first. So you can use a pencil eraser or you can just use your finger, whatever you want. When you do it really light, you know, with the dots, it doesn't take a lot to get them off. How cute is that? These little mushrooms. And then I'm gonna take a bit of the 969 and just soften up this mushroom a little bit. So 969, and I'm gonna take this and just put a little bit, I hope you can see this because this is important. I'm gonna take the 969 and just on the very edge of the white, I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit of brown, just a little bit. It softens it. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is just a flat white, right? This is, this has a little bit of texture to it. So it's okay if some of them aren't as light. You can come in and put in that texture, that bit of texture. But doesn't that add a lot when you do the molotow and then you add the bit of brown? I don't know. I feel like it brought the mushrooms to life as opposed to just leaving them white. I feel like they do need a little something on the edge, but it kind of gives it a little bit of a 3D vibe. Okay. So we'll bring that back out and we have a better image of what we've got going on here, okay? So when you're doing this at home, if you want to do it at home, you can always slow the video down, turn off the volume and slow the video down so that you can get a better, a slower idea of what I'm doing, okay? So now what we'll do is, Ruth Ann, I'm learning so much. Oh, good. That's fantastic, because Ruth Ann, you are a queen yourself, and so creative. So that makes me really happy. Ruth Ann is very, very, very good at this. So I like to hear that I inspire her, because that means a lot. You can see I'm being picky again, you guys. It's really up to you how much you want to do this for the shading. I just feel like when you do some of these lighter colors, you really do need to spend a little extra time getting in your shading, okay? So let's go ahead now and put in our really fun wreaths. So just as a side note, you can do this without the wreath, okay? So if I were just to do this without the wreath, there was no circle here, what I would do is just take my grasses, and I would take, let's do number 177. So I'll take the jumbo grass from that foliage set and just ink some of it. And I would start by putting in some of these bigger grasses like this. And maybe there's a little bit of grass behind him. And then I'll take the little teeny tiny grass and put this in so that he's just kind of resting in this grass. Just like that. And this could be just by itself your project. Like, you don't even have to do the wreath if you don't want to. Diane, I can't believe you don't have it either. Probably because you can freehand these. Okay. Diane is also extremely talented. We have a lot of talented people that are fans of AI, that's for sure. Little fuzz there. So let's get that off. And then we'll keep going. And don't be afraid to bring this green up right around him. And he's just gonna kind of rest in this grass and under the shade of these little mushrooms. So you can leave him just like this, and you know, you don't have to do the wreath. And this is kind of what I wanted to show you, is you can take really any project and put a wreath around it just by setting it up for yourself. So do the circle and then do your project, right? And then we can go in and do the wreath. So before we do that, let's put in our sky. And that's going to be just all around here. I'm going to put a little bit up there. But I wanted to show you a really neat sky color. Do we have this one? Okay, a really neat sky color. And it's using 173 and 565. For those of you who feel like the 565 alone is too purple, this is actually a really great combo. 173 and 565. It makes this really beautiful blue. So I am going to show you that on my palette. So this is 565. Let's see here, 565. And then 173. So we also, this is a kind of a new color, the 173. And
willow green.
Oh, this is willow green, Leah says. And Ginger, this is beautiful. Glad I have the set. Oh, thank you. I'm glad too. You can bust it out, girl. So 565 and 173, I'm going to mix these guys together, and it's so not what you expect. When I mixed these together the other day, I was like, that's not what I expected at all. So, but I absolutely love it. It's such a beautiful color. And then come to find out. So I told my mom, I was like, oh my word, have you ever mixed 173 and 565? And she was like, yeah, I use that color all the time. I'm like, what? I thought that I had discovered this really neat blue. But no, it was her. So, yeah, she already knew about it and never shared it with me. And I guess I was not so observant because she's used it a lot. So anyway, it's a really pretty blue. It's almost like a gray blue. It's really nice. So I'm just going to drop this into here, kind of around the mushrooms and around our little pixie guy. And the reason I put the sky in first is because I know I'm going to have a bunch of greenery around here, and I want to make sure that I don't have to work around all that greenery. I can just get the sky in wherever I want to, and once that's dry, then I can stamp right over it with the greenery. She's laughing right now. I know. I was you guys, so excited to show her this blue. And come to find out, and you know, no surprise either. Like she's such a genius. It's honestly like, there's nothing new that you can show her. We'll just put it that way. She already knows. Like she's so brilliant that, either she, you know, has already discovered it years ago, or, you know, she's been just quietly using it, or, yeah, so she's just so brilliant. And we know this already. This is no surprise. Okay, so I'm going to take that once again and just mix a little bit more, because I want it to be just a bit deeper in some of these areas. So I'm going to go back and put in just a little bit deeper of a blue. Okay. Oh, thank you, Trisha. Thank you. Thank you. Whatever I show you is stuff that she's taught me. I am not the artist that she is. I have learned a lot over the years, and it's been such a blast being able to teach you guys even just a little bit. You know, it's been so fun. And I just appreciate you guys being here. It just fills me with so much joy. Okay, so we have our little sky here. Yeah, Pam! Oh my word, yes. Actually, that would be so cute, huh? Pam says it looks like the moon. It does. How cute would that be to make this the moon? Oh my word. Great idea, Pam. You should totally do it. I absolutely love that idea. See, that's the creativity that you guys have, is you see something and you're like, oh my word, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Then you can add one of Bonnie's bats.
Yes, then you can add one of her bats. See, Leah, she's thinking. She's thinking. Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. Good idea. And then we could do like a little spider web, and no, Leah's saying no spider. No spider.
No spiders. I'm not a spider fan.
No spiders this time. Okay, so now we're going to take our little fern, and we're gonna start with our very simple wreath. Okay, so this was definitely the hardest part of the whole thing, is these three, and they weren't really hard. They were just, they just take a little time to let the molotow dry and to let the colors dry. But, if you think back, it's only 3 pieces, and it's just kind of moving from one to the other, right? So do this slowly, slow it down and do it. And it's really, really fun. Okay, so now we're going to do the easiest part of the whole thing. And we're going to take number 0 to 7. So Barbara says those mushrooms have so much texture. They do, because we did the white dots and we did the dark dots. It's the play between those is what makes it have that texture. So we're going to use that 0 to 7. And we're going to put it right onto the fern from that Bible journaling foliage set. And we're going to just put it right on there. And I'm going to take that and just begin to work my way around. And this does not have to be done in a certain way. I like to have it be going kind of directionally. I like to meet in the top, but you don't have to do that. You can go the same direction all the way around, which is also very, very cute. Cheryl says, contemplative coloring. Take your time. That's right. Take your time. You know, I have to get through the video in a certain amount of time. But if I were doing this on my own, then I would take my time. I would enjoy myself. I would think about the colors that I really want to use. So it is really, really important for you to, you know, just like Cheryl said, take your time, enjoy it. Okay, I'm going to take that 027 again, and I'm going to go up and around again. And then maybe I'll put one more little one right in there. So this is not, you know, this is not something that has to be perfect by any means. And notice I am leaving some space in there, okay? Kathy, this is the large fern, yes. Notice I'm leaving some space in there because I want to be able to put some other foliage in here. So I'll take that same fern and maybe I'll put one down in here just to connect it. Connect the ferns on the other side. And then we'll take that same fern and we'll go up and then put a few here, maybe one to connect. Okay, so it does not have to be, perfect. I like to tell you guys that because, you know, it takes away the pressure of feeling like, oh no, I messed it up. You didn't, because that's just how it grew. You know, there's no right or wrong way to put in this foliage. We want it kind of busy and messy. Okay, so now I'm going to take one of the other foliages from that set. And Pam, where has my moon gone? I know. I need you to make it, girl. You make it. 969. I'm not that good on the fly. Vicky, I think I need this one to add to my wall of fame. It's so cute. Oh, thank you, Vicky. Yeah, I will be giving this one away. So thank you for mentioning that. I'll be giving this away. If you want this, add your name to the comments and let me know that you want it. And Leah will pick a winner for, I'll give both of these away. So I'll give this one away, the sample that I did first, and then I'll do this one because I know a lot of you guys are really liking this one. So I'll give both of them away. And if you want it, you can just comment that you would like to have one of these. And Leah might pick you. So I'm just putting some of these, and I'm using 969 for these, by the way. These are brown. Okay. So a little bit of chocolate. Yep. Little chocolatey. So we'll put these in. And I want just a little bit right there. Needed something right there. Okay. And then I'm going to switch to the other side, the other little vine here, or twig. Okay. And I'm going to go and put one there. Maybe he's kind of laying on one. And then I'll put a few in here. Maybe one, let's see, maybe one between here. And maybe one up there. I feel like I need one. You know, sometimes I like looking into the camera and seeing where I feel like I need one. So maybe I'll put one there. Okay. Yes, Lynn, you will be entered. So will Denise and Nancy and Maggie and Sue, Ruth, Diane, Eleanor. Oh, lots and lots of you will be entered. And if you're watching this after, Leah will not choose someone for a couple of days to give everyone a chance to enter if you want to. So don't worry if you're watching the replay. Put your name in to get one of these, and she will pick 2 winners, okay? So I'm gonna take, you know, I had the other branch, this one, for the original, but I've really filled this in actually more than I did with the other one. So I actually want one that's a little bit more dainty. This one doesn't have as many branches on here. So I'm going to use the really light one. Okay. And I want to stamp off again. So I'm going to use this and 969. So I'm going to stamp off so it's not so dark. And then I'll take that and we'll just cover this mushroom here. Okay. And I will take that again and stamp off. And we'll put one in here and maybe one down in here, which you can't really see now. Okay, we'll just do that. That's okay. And I want to show you guys also a really good trick that I learned with the sand eraser. And it is awesome. It's one that I learned when I kind of made a mistake on part of this, and I used that thing to erase it, and it worked like a dream. So just so you guys know, you can erase mistakes that you don't like. So I want the branchiness of this one. So I'm going to just go back through and put a couple more branches in with this one. You know, that's the nice thing about this is you really can just say, oh, I think I would really like this to be a little more branchy. Or, you know, I like that it's kind of wispy or what have you. So it's really up to you to decide how you want these to look. Okay. Now, let me see, where am I at? Let's see, can you guys see this? Okay, so I don't like what's happening right here. I don't like that at all. So I'm gonna take my mono eraser, okay, and I'm gonna erase it. Oh shoot, it's not dry. You guys, don't worry, it will dry. Oh my heavens.
They are currently out of stock, but we have more on order. We will get them in soon.
They are out of stock, I guess, right now, but don't worry because they're coming in. But I don't like what's happening here at all. I don't like it. I want it gone. So I'm just using my sand eraser and I'm going to erase it out because I don't like it. I don't like that spot. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and go over it. Now, just be mindful. You don't want to rip your paper, right? You don't want to rip your paper. So you do just want to be very gentle with what you're doing. And I'm going to leave it like that because you may not be able to see it when I put in the color with my brush or like pull out some of the color. So let's do that now and we'll see where we're at, okay? So I'm going to take my brush with a little bit of water and I'm going to begin to just pull some of this color out. And I'm just going along here. I'm not being super careful, right? I'm just sort of pulling out color in the areas where I put these little leaves and I felt like that area was a little bit sparse. So I'm going to put some of this color in there. And this is a really great way to kind of even things out if you feel like things are wonky. Let's see. Velda. Velda says, attempting my first live paint along definitely requires chocolate. Yes, girl. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Velda is doing awesome. Could not be more proud, Velda. I think you know that. I've told you that many times. Now you're probably like, okay, I get it. Okay. So I'm just coming along here and adding water. Now I'm not doing all of the, you know, the leaves. I'm not adding water to everything. I'm just letting some areas just kind of be. So don't overthink it. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I really like the fact that this is, oh, Diane, I'll see you. Kind of, it's whimsical. It's, you know, you're outside. This stuff is in the middle of a forest, you know, so a lot of it is going to kind of be a little bit messy, you know, so I roll with it. I want to put a little bit more of this fern in here just so I have a nice meetup. And I used the bright green. Or did I? Oh, that's funny. That was really bright green. Well, we'll just put a few more in here. If it's not too full, you guys, you know me. It's not full enough. If it's not, you know, overwhelmed. Okay. So now we're going to put in our little berries. Okay, so this is a really fun part. And yes, Trisha, that's what I was going for. It was very organic. That's what I was going for. Thank you. You guys are so helpful when I can't think of words. I'm like, help me. And you never disappoint. Okay, so I'm going to take that 933 and I'm going to put in some little berries, some little flowers. And actually, before I do that, I see one little area that I want to add a fern to. Because I look in the camera and I can see where I want to even things out. Okay, so I'll take that 933 and I'm gonna put little berries in here or little flowers or buds or whatever they, you know, whatever you want them to be. We'll just put these in here, okay? And we're gonna put them all around. We're gonna start with the orange. And we're going to come back in with the red. So don't worry if you don't see your beloved red color. It's coming, okay? So we're going to keep going around on the little branches we put in. So we'll put one out here. And you want to think about how these are being spaced out. Some areas, you know, you want to have some more berries or some more flowers, and other areas you want to keep kind of sparse of them because they can really quickly overwhelm, and they're meant to be an accent. So they're not meant to be the main event. So you want to keep them more congregated toward the bottom and then sparse as you get to the top. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. And then I'll take the red and I'm gonna go that 885 and the little bullet tip, and I'm just going to put a little bit of red on some of these little berries. And some of them will just be left orange. And notice it's going to immediately connect in his little outfit. And I want to make this a little bit darker. I don't feel like his outfit looks very rich, and I want it to. So I might actually just bring this color right in here and let it be really bright. I like that a lot better, you guys. This is a lot better in my opinion. I just feel like it adds weight to the little character when the clothes are, you know, dense, like the color is dense. So, you know, you can always change things later. Even if you move on for now, maybe you're like, oh, I want to go back in later and add this or that. So don't worry about it if that ends up happening and you're like, oh, I don't know. So I'll do the same thing with the 933. I want his top to be really rich. Yeah, I like this a lot better, you guys. I just feel like it makes him, you know, just strengthens that color and just makes it richer. Yes, Cheryl, the deeper color draws your eye to the elf. Yep, it sure does. And it just, I don't know, it makes him just more part of the composition, I think. So totally up to you if you want to have, you know, his little clothes lighter or darker. And then I'm going to go and just take my brush and go over these little berries just a little bit. I don't want to overdo this, but I do want to give them, you know, loosen them up a little bit because you can tell that they were pinned in. And if you take your brush and you just go very, very lightly over the top of it, it makes it feel more of a watercolor. And it just takes away that harsh edge, that harsh line that you put in there. Do you see that? It settles it down a little bit and it doesn't feel so intense. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just take my brush and I think I'm going to take a little bit of that 177 and put a little bit of this green in. But it's really up to you. If you want your foliage and your flowers more dense, you can put some of this green in. If not, just keep it nice and light. You know, this wreath is really optional. Remember we said that in the beginning. You don't have to have this wreath. Okay, hey. And don't forget, Ruth Ann, I know you're thinking it, and you would have been just absolutely wonderful to remind me, but we need to put the little dots in, right? You would have said Kendra dots, and I would have said, oh my word, yes, I've got to add Kendra dots. Okay, so let's put our little dots in. So we'll take the dots from that same Bible journal foliage set, okay? And we'll take that and we'll do the 969 on this. So the 969 is that really nice dark brown. And I like to stamp these off before I put them onto my paper, okay? Pam, thank you so much, Kendra. It's been such a fun morning. Oh, good. Of course. Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I love doing this and it makes me really happy that you guys are here with me. Okay, so I'm going to stamp that off one time on my practice paper and then I'll go in and decide where I want to put these and it's going to just bring it to life. These little dots, they feel magical. I love them. I love these dots. So I'll just stamp those off. And I'll put them in wherever I feel like I need a little bit of fairy dust. Okay, so I'll stamp them off again. And actually I want color on both sides. So for those of you who didn't catch this last time I showed you, there is a space between the two groups of dots that the queen just geniusly left there. And that's so that you get the dots on both sides of your wreath. How genius is that? So, I mean, I take credit for the dots themselves, the idea, but wow, has she made a stamp that is super, super usable. So, absolutely love that you can take this little dot and put it on here and it will get on both sides of your wreath at the same time. Okay. And I'll take that, stamp it off, and we'll just put these in. Little bits here and there, whatever we want to do, we do. Okay, so we'll just keep it really light. We don't have to overdo anything. You know, sometimes these little things can be overdone. So just keep it simple, just really simple. And we'll put a few here, and I'm just going to turn this so that we get this really adorable little image. So now we'll take our eraser. Terry says, love the Kendra dots, just got my Happy Mail yesterday and got them. Oh my goodness. You have got to bust those open. They are so fun. If you haven't already, you may already have, but they are so fun. Anytime I hear that somebody's gotten them, I'm like, oh, just wait. They are a blast. I just feel like they add so much. Leah's looking at me like, you love them because they're Kendra dots. I do, but because I think that, I just love them. And you know what, for years and years, I added these by hand, but the difference is that I get a light and a dark dot, which you can't get with the pen. So let me I gotta show you if you haven't seen it. I have to show you. So if you take the dots, okay, this is just so awesome. If you take the dots and you get them stamped, you can see you get dark to light variation, just like we do with everything else, right? But what I used to do is the dots with like the twin tone. Okay, so I used the twin tone and I would do these little dots like this, but I can't get variation like I can get with the stamp. Do you see that? It's such a big difference to be able to have the variation of the dark and light, and I can still come in and do some of these darker ones if I want to, but I'm not going to get the dark and light variation that I will get with the stamp. So I think that's what's so special about it. And that's why it looks so neat with your compositions, because it doesn't overtake them. It keeps it really, really light and simple. And then you can use your twin tone for things like this, where you want to darken things up or, add a little bit of contrast. You can do that. Of course, if you don't have the stamp, you can continue to use it for your dots. But I just think, wow, it is such a big difference to use the dots in this way. Okay, and then I will sign my work, and this is going to go to somebody. Somebody is going to get this little guy, and I am super excited for whoever that is. There we go. Okay, so you are going to get either the one I made tonight, or you're going to get the one that I made for the example, okay? So I'm going to do, I normally don't do both. I usually kind of keep one, but I feel like this is just a really fun one, and I want to be able to give it to two people. Okay, so what you can do now is erase color or erase your little pencil line if you need to. If you haven't done that already, you can. I forget who said it earlier, but they asked if they could erase the line early, and you absolutely can. It's up to you. Okay. So I'm gonna get this little line erased. And hopefully I don't, smear anything, but I'll get this off the little marker with my sand eraser that is coming back in stock very soon. Okay, everyone. Well, this is going to just wrap it up. Now this, this was a little bit more advanced than Back to Basics, but I thought it would be really fun because actually the elements are very basic, and you can do some basic things like this, but have it look really whimsical and magical. and you know, it doesn't have to be super, super hard. So I am going to turn the camera back around and I will say my goodbyes. So just one moment. And we'll get that in, hopefully. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Just a recap of the sets that I used. These are the Watercolor Elves set, which is gonna have the elf that I used and the 2 mushrooms. Okay, so that's just one set. And then the Bible Foliage set 2, which is gonna be these guys, and it's got the dots in it, and all the major foliage that I used in this is in this set. Okay, I just absolutely love this set. If you don't have it, I would say add it to your list. And then also the Watercolor Branches set, $49.64. This is also one that we use all the time. It is a really, really nice set. And then also Foliage set 1, $40.51, and I use those grasses in there. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of people putting in their names for the original. Absolutely, put your name in. Even if you're watching the replay, put your name in, and Leah will pick 2 winners. And that is a wrap, you guys. If you can't get enough watercolor, as always, join the queen herself tomorrow for a Watercolor Wednesday tutorial. It is so cute. You will love it. You'll love it. And it looks more advanced than it is. It's actually one that you might trick some people with how simple it is. It's very easy. It just takes a little bit of time. So definitely join her tomorrow, and join us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Of course, this video will be reposted so you can watch it later. And yes, put your name in if you want these. So I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye. Oh, and thank you, Leah, for coming. Let's just have her one more time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.